dear YouTube, we are back yet again with another video for the week. I do have to apologize for the last video because I didn't realize about my audio until after I finished recording everything, and then I was like, oh my god, I sound awful. I fixed it though. I fixed it. I'm not going to tell you guys what it was because it's kind of embarrassing, so we're not going to talk about it. Just know you can now hear me in 4K and it's good. So anyway, as I said in the last video about social media, I actually wanted to take a deeper dive and really kind of pick apart this whole social media realm. And now I don't know if this is going to be a two-parter. I will do my best to get a nice chunk of my thoughts and just some perspectives that I have about social media and being a content creator on any of those platforms. Also, you guys kind of have to forgive me because I am still so very new to just kind of blurting out my thoughts through a mic with no one on the other side. Some of you know I am a Twitch streamer, so it's easier when you have an active audience, a dialogue, so to speak, and when you have to sit by yourself and kind of formulate your thoughts, not necessarily scripting, but just formulating them in a way that are clear and concise and make sense. So forgive me if I derail or digress a little bit. I will be sure to kind of keep everything within the realm of what I'm talking about. So let's just hop right in. I guess when I think about social media as a whole, or the uprise of social media, I think back to the DeviantArt days. And now I'm speaking from a point of view of an artistic platform that allowed for creators to post stock photos, art tutorials, photography, any of those things that you can think of that is remotely creative. And DeviantArt at the time was the hub. It was at its peak. I would say like early 2000s, and then things started to change when Instagram started to come into play. And of course, I can't forget the GOAT, Tumblr. Tumblr was, oh man, before Tumblr sold its soul to Yahoo, it was happening. It was Tumblr and DeviantArt at the time. And then for video content, when YouTube came out, and it just, the floodgates, everything just seemingly hit at once, which at the time, and I can't even say at the time, even now, was awesome. Now, call me a boomer, whatever you want, but I wasn't really into the Twitterverse at all, actually. Even when I was in high school, I didn't really mess with Twitter, so I wasn't very aware of the artistic community on Twitter. So for me, all of that's new. It sounds crazy because it's 2022 and you're just like, Charmy, you should know that by now. But look, y'all, let me tell you, it was, like I said, DeviantArt, Tumblr, and Instagram for me. I did not fuck with Twitter. I promise you I didn't. So anyway, you know, I take a step back and I look at everything, you know, at face value, and it is insane how social media just, just how social media truly dominates a lot of society and our views, our perceptions on things, and equally so, how everything just seemingly gets twisted, or if you're looking on the other side of it, everything seems to be golden. You know, if you follow an influencer or somebody who is successful, you think to yourself, oh my gosh, they must be living their best life. They must have no problems whatsoever. This is all we see. This is what I want. Now, what social media is really good at, and people too, as I've stated before in the last video, that people are good on putting on a show. People are really good at portraying the shiny bits, the parts that people want to see, the parts that are appealing. And when that's all that you are exposed to, you create this reality or this belief or perception in your mind that if my life is not this way, or if my success does not follow this path of this individual, then what am I doing? How can I reach those levels? And it's kind of fucked up when you think about it, because it makes you think that what you're currently doing, or what you're striving for, is simply not enough. Because if you're comparing your success or what you are looking for in terms of validity or showcasing or fame, and this is not to say that that's what everyone is seeking, but let's be honest, the accolades and the views, it's these dopamine hits that we get, and it feels good. And when you keep getting them, you're like, dang, I kind of want a little bit more, and you keep striving for that thing. Now, it's not necessarily bad in a sense of, you know, you want to keep the momentum going, because maybe to you that's a positive that's a positive reinforcement for yourself, that the content that you're making is touching the audience that you are targeting, and you want to keep making content for that community, and you want to expand it, right? But as much as that's something that we may want, I think something happened, and okay, hear me out. Not to say that this is, you know, conspiracy theory by any means, and I want you guys to take this with a grain of salt. Everything that I am talking about is my own personal views and my own personal experiences, and, you know, with a little observation here and there, and just seeing things for what they are. You guys have your own thoughts, and I do encourage individualism. I want you guys to think for yourself as well, and ask yourselves, how has social media impacted you, and ultimately, has that even shifted the way you view success, or how do you view just interaction as a whole? So when I look at it from a artist point of view, it's a real mindfuck. And hear me out when I say this. As I like to refer back to the previous video, because there are some topics or just points that I've made in that video that's relevant now. It goes back to looking at things that are doing extremely well. When you look at numbers, you typically hear, don't associate your value with a number. And of course that sounds like a very normal and sound thing. It's like, yeah, how does a number affect my worth and my value and what I can give to community or whatever it is that you're doing? But when you are looking at someone who has social status or a very strong social media presence, it kind of puts you in the space of envy. It puts you in a space of competitiveness. And though there is a such thing as friendly competition, but let's be honest. Everyone's trying to stand out, right? Everyone is wanting to be on top. Everyone wants to be seen and wants to be heard. And when you are continuously faced with people that have a stronger fan base or a stronger support base, however you want to frame it, and in comparison, you look at your community. It may not be as big, but you start to feel a certain way, and you start to really question. Well, first you start to kind of pick at, how can I get what they're getting? But then you start spiraling and you start asking yourself, okay, how can I reach the same crowd? How can I do exactly what they're doing? And then it turns into you questioning your own abilities. You start questioning your own skill set and wondering if anything that you put out, is it any good? Is what I'm putting out worth seeing? And you just start to spiral. And the crazy part about this, from, again, based off my own experiences, I feel it creates anxiety. And I'll touch on the topic about the positives here, but I really want to kind of touch on the mental and emotional impact I think that social media has created over the years, because even in the earlier stages, I don't even think it was this bad. Now you have people doing just about anything just to be relevant, and it's kind of scary. And there are so many points that I also want to talk about, but they're intertwined with a different video. But I can touch on one of them now. Fan art being probably one of the biggest. And is it still a hot take? I'm not sure. I still feel like to some degree fan art is still a question of relevancy of whether or not you should do it or if you shouldn't do it. And there are thousands of videos out there about people's perspective about fan art, and I will give my own at a later time. But a good example, right? So if any of you watch anime, which I feel like some of you do, you guys know Spy Family just came out as an anime. The manga's been out for quite some time, and we see this wonderful character, Yor. She's plastered all over social media. She's on Twitter, she's on Instagram, she's literally everywhere. Hell, even ArtStation. And just scrolling through the tag, you see so many variations of her, and all of them being absolutely amazing. And it's super fun to always see everyone's takes on a character and how they depict them. And I recently made a Yor piece. Now, of course, I'll tell you guys my state of mind when I was doing this. One, the artistic, the creative, oh my gosh, excuse me. Okay, so the hiccups are coming from tea that I just had, so don't mind me. The creative aspect of me was just like, oh my gosh, I think her character is super cute. It would be fun to draw this character and kind of challenge myself to put her in a scene, something that I've never done before. Now, though I'm fulfilling that portion of me, there is the other side, the anxious side, the worried side, that this piece that I'm about to make, the immediate thought was, how well is this going to do on social media? Will people even notice? Because there's so many people doing it. Will my piece even stand out? And this is even before I started the drawing, even before I put my pen to the tablet. That was the thing that I was most concerned about. And it's crazy to think, because it's just like, oh my gosh, how much of a leash does social media have on my mind that I can't even create without thinking about the numbers and who's going to like this? it's a very sad thing, and I feel that it does limit you as an artist, because something that should be explorative and an adventure and joyous is now turned into some manufactured thing. And what I feel social media has done is that it almost takes out the originality or the uniqueness of your voice. And the new fight is, I'm just trying to stay relevant, so I'll do anything. Back to that point I said earlier, people doing anything to stay relevant. And what that looks like, at least in my opinion, what that looks like for artists is trends, right? Now, if you are pursuing freelancing or being a social media artist, it's a double-edged sword, because it's almost your job to stay on top of trends. It's your job to, and this is based off of what I've seen and what other freelancers have told me. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass. These are things that I have been told by people who live this life. It is your job to stay on top of things and kind of almost peep out the competition and checking the market and looking at, okay, this is what this person is doing, but also what's hot that's on the market that I can hop on before the floodgates open and then everyone's doing it, and then I lost my window, right? And it feels icky. And this is, of course, no banter upon anyone who found success as a social media artist, because you did it. You did what most people are striving to do, and for that, hats off to you. You found a voice, you found your audience, and those people resonate with you, and for that, keep on going. Keep on going. As I've said, this is just truly my perspective. And so I think about when all of that is being in your face all the time, every single day, every time you hop on Instagram, every time you hop on Twitter, that's all that you see. And you think that, oh, I'm fine, I can look at this. And I don't know about y'all, but when I get overstimulated with all of this information in such a short amount of time, I almost feel like I'm paralyzed. And I'm like, I can't keep up. I feel like I start to doubt everything that I've ever done up until this point, and then it makes me feel like I have to switch what I'm doing, or I have to change my style, and I have to do the things that are popular. But something that I realize is the more that you dive into that, the more you feel detached from your authentic self, because at this point it's just survival mode. As I've said, you're just trying to stay relevant at this point in hopes that somebody is going to sniff you out and they'll recognize you. And, you know, if fan art, and again, I will talk about this separately, but if fan art is your jam and it brings you true enjoyment, do that. Do it. No one's stopping you. If that's what makes you happy, please continue to do that. Don't let what I'm saying thwart you into a different direction and thinking that you have to be a dark horse now. I'm not saying that. I'm just making note of these mental impacts that I've seen it just gradually build over the years. And when you see a post that has 100,000+, or you see an artist that has almost 1 million followers, it makes you feel like you almost kind of feel hopeless sometimes, because and the internet is swarming with wonderful voices and unique takes on art that though may not be necessarily quote unquote original, it's a unique voice to us, things that we've never seen before. And it makes you wonder, where do you fit in? How can you stand out in a sea of thousands of people who have a lot of tenure on their artistic journey, and maybe you're just starting, or maybe you're now becoming an intermediate artist, but you're still struggling, you're still trying to figure out your way, you're still trying to find your voice. And when you only see things that are just popping off, it really starts to make you really start attacking yourself. And some people go to the extreme. I am one of those people. I'm not going to tell you guys my crazy thoughts that I have, but I can guarantee that those who go to that place, y'all know how bad it can get, and you just start self-deprecating left and right and just bashing yourself to no end, because you're like, why is it that the thing that I want to put out, or the thing that I'm doing, is not good enough? And that's the trap. Associating touching back on, or going back to that point, associating your skill and your value with a number. And I can tell you guys, that cycle of that thought process has torn me up time and time again. Not enough to make me stop doing what I'm doing, but it's enough to literally immobilize me and make me feel like, what's the point? I'm looking at a blank screen and the only thing that I see is numbers. And if any of you have ever listened to Araceli or Night Zhang, she talks about that. She talks about it, or if any of you have ever been in her Twitch streams or have taken her character design class, she touches on that, and she says a lot of valuable things. And when you see somebody who is that upper echelon, so to speak, of artists, it makes you remember, like, oh yeah, even people that are this well known also go through it. Now, all of those not necessarily negativities, but I guess you could say the unpretty parts of social media, there are some positive aspects to it, I think. And a lot of that involves networking. You get to meet people that you've never ever thought that you could get in contact with, and it creates opportunities for you. It may not happen right then and there, but creating that rapport with other creators, that comes back to you in the long run. I think so. And the wonderful aspect about it too is the community, right? Most artists, myself included, are introverted, and we like being alone. We like creating in silence, and we like to just get lost into that zone. But most of us know that, well, what good is it, if no one sees it? And not coming from a space of, I want to be famous and everyone needs to know my name. No, it's just simply sharing the love of what you do and giving that opportunity for other people to see it as well. And social media has billions of people on it, and that's, if you want to look at it in a positive light, that's billions of potential opportunities that could come your way. And it's so powerful when you look at it in a space of building a community, being around like-minded people. And it's such an inspiration, because when you're in a room or online, like Discord is wonderful for that. Same with Twitch. Side note, I've met most of my current art friends through Twitch, and it truly has been life-changing. When you get into these communities, it just feels so euphoric, because you're just like, oh my god, there are people that are like me, and thousands of them, and we all get to share the same sentiments and what have you. And you know, it's so much to think about. I feel like I could truly go on, and I may make a part 2 of this video because I also am running out of time. So, I don't know, I encourage you guys to think about what social media has done for you, and what mental space has that put you in, and what are some potential tools that you use for yourself to help you regulate your emotions and not feeling inadequate, or feeling lost, or feeling that you don't have a voice, because there are people just everywhere all the time. So just some food for thought for you guys. This is, I think, one of my longer videos, but I'm gonna go ahead and let the rest of this video play out. I hope that gives you guys something to think about, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.